Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to another video, I guess. It's me, Zap, and this is going to be one of them videos that I'm probably going to start bringing to my channel more often. Don't mind the gameplay, it's just Dishonored. I just wanted something that was a little bit different, to put as a background or whatever to the commentary. And this is a commentary that I'm very passionate about, don't get me wrong. So there's a lot of stuff happening in the PC world. Right now, NVIDIA has the two fastest single-core GPUs on the market, the 780 and the Titan, both of which are pretty pricey. They have similar performance. The only difference between the 780 and the Titan is about 5% performance and 3 gigs of RAM and $350. The Titan has a price premium of $1,000 and the 780 has a price premium of anywhere from $659 to $7 and sometimes over $7. I know the Lightning Edition card will be pretty pricey. I would say it would be well over $7, maybe close to $750. While the EVGA Super Clocked, the top end EVGA one, is $699. So it's a lot higher than any of AMD's current gen cards. It's even higher than the 7990. The 7990 is, a dual GPU with it's got a 7970 gigahertz, two of them, and the processor's recently been dropped on them. They're, anywhere from $650 to $800 now. You can get an MSI one for I think $724, and it's really, really fast. They have worked out the frame latency issues with the newest Catalyst 13.8 betas drivers. Just give better performance for crossfire and frame latency. So that being said, though, they have definitely lowered the prices on other cards. The 7950 is cheaper. The 7970, you can get it for $350. A 7970 gigahertz for $350. And it's a very top tier card. I mean, anybody that's looking to build a system, I would have to recommend the 7970. The GTX 770 is more expensive, and it performs a little bit better, very little, and it's $409 to $429, giving them what you get. The top tier vendors are more expensive, so that's happening, and that's pretty big news, especially right now for somebody wanting to build a system, especially an AMD system. It's unheard of to get this kind of power for such a nice price. You can build a really decent system for a lot less than what it would take, and I think that's really cool. I think AMD's pulling a right punch right now. They're trying to stay in the game, both in the CPU and GPU market, and I expect great things from them here in the near future. I think they're at the right place, especially since they're producing the processors, their APUs, for the PS4 and Xbox One. And the new APUs, the Steamroller APUs, are rumored to come out in Q4 of 2013 to Q1 of 2014. And they're going to have the Steamroller cores, but they're also going to be using the GCN, which is what they use in their high-end graphics cards. And these are supposed to be the most powerful APUs that they've ever produced, both graphic-wise and core-wise. So I'm really, really excited to see how that's going to play out. They're called Kaveri. So I'm really excited. I think an APU build is going to be really, really good for anyone on a budget. And I think AMD's making some really good strides. They for a while they was kind of iffy, but I think they're coming back from it. I think they're going to hold a really nice place in the market. But that being said, though, that's not what this video is about. This video is it's quite long. It's 24 minutes. It's one of the longer ones that I've done. But it is about AMD versus Intel, which is, as everyone knows, it just starts so many flame wars. You have fanboys from both sides, Intel and AMD, and I'm neither. I'm just an enthusiast. I like both companies. I currently use Intel. Spoiler alert though, my next build, which will be happening here in about another month, I'm going for AMD. And the reason behind that though is just because I'm tired of throwing money into a company that's 20% bigger, or 2 times as big actually, than AMD, but not really 2 times the performance. Or I don't know, here lately they just haven't been doing anything worthwhile. I think it's definitely not worth the price premium of what they charge. So back to the topic, AMD versus Intel. There's several ways you can look at it. Performance wise, right now, Intel with their 4770K and their Extreme Edition processors, they hold the high-end market. It is their market, and they can pretty much charge whatever they want to for anything above a i5. The i5 though is pretty well matched by AMD's flagship 8350. Well, it's not the flagship anymore, but we'll talk about that later. And it's pretty well matched in some things. Gaming wise, they're pretty much equal in both Windows 7 and Windows 8. And certain benchmarks, the i5 comes out ahead, and some the A350. But it wasn't too long ago that Intel actually got caught telling these benchmark companies to make their processors look better, which I think is kind of trashy. It's ridiculous is what it is. So that being said though, AMD has released the first 5 GHz processor. Yes, it does have a 220 watt TDP, but to me, it's pretty much saying, look, we're AMD, we don't care. If we want to say, we've got a 5 GHz processor, well, guess what? We're going to be the first to that. There's first to 6 and there's first to 8 cores. So I think it's really cool that they actually, threw caution in the wind, pretty much, and produced a 5 GHz processor. It's not readily available. You have to buy either from an OEM builder, or certain retailers have them in a bundle that you can buy, for instance, Newegg, and only certain motherboards. It takes a very high-end motherboard to be able to handle the TDP. Like the Sabertooth can do it, the ASRock Extreme FX or whatever, the Extreme 9, the 990FX Extreme 9, the Crosshair 5 formula, stuff like that have really, really high power phases, like 10+2 or 8+2, So I think that's pretty cool though if they did that. And I've seen the benchmarks for it, and that's really, really cool. There's some benchmarks that came out. I was reading them the other night. I was like, yeah, I struck one for AMD, and it beat the 3960X, which I thought was pretty cool, considering that the 9590 or whatever they call it is $850, give or take, and then the A370 is $350. But I think that's pretty cool. They come out and they've done that, so that's good for them. On the same side though, Intel has efficiency and better single thread performance than AMD for right now. From going from Sandy Bridge to Ivy Bridge, the only thing they did, they increased the clock by, I think, 200 megahertz. Wasn't nothing significant. And they lowered the TDP. It's more efficient. But at the same time, though, it gets harder and doesn't overclock as well. do the silicone. You know, it's a new manufacturing process. So you can't overclock them as well as Sandy Bridge. And I've had Sandy and I've had Ivy. I'm not going to Haswell. Haswell though showed a 5% increase over Ivy, but they put everything into the iGPU on it, so they could kind of maybe almost catch up to an APU in performance, graphic performance, but they can't do it. You know, I mean, you can buy. Nobody's going to buy an i7 or an i5. You know, that's got a really good iGPU in it. Whenever they can buy an AMD APU, the new Richland came out, it's going to smoke it and smoke most low-end discrete cards, some of them at least. So I think that was a bad play on their part when it came to Haswell. I really do. But at the same time, though, it put AMD in a better position. You know, with their APUs, they're getting a lot of recognition. The new Richlands are out, and they're awesome. You know, so AMD has the market when it comes to budget builds and price to performance. And you mean, well, what do you mean price to performance? Well, an 8320 is $159. A really nice 990FX board is like $170. Alright. An i5 4670K, $240. An equivalent board to the AMD for Intel, about $240 or more. And when you look at it, you can build an AMD system for anywhere from $100 to $200 cheaper just on an i5 build than what you can in the Intel. And the performance is the same pretty much in gaming, and the AMD A320, A350 does better in production. I mean, like video rendering and stuff like that. But if you get a 4770K, it's $340. That's an extra $100 that you pay, and it's a premium to be able to beat an 8350 in production or productivity. And they do beat it. But it's also anywhere from $140 to $200 and some dollars higher. And I think that's silly. And what sparked this was I've been reading forums. You know, I like to get on forums and stuff and try and help people because I'm passionate about this. And then you see everybody and their brother recommending i5s. I mean, if you even recommend an AMD build, you get chastised because they think you're wrong, because they've been listening to all this hype about Intel. You know, that they think the i5 is the end-all be-all, but that's not true. It really isn't. You can build an AMD system for cheaper, get the same performance, close to it, maybe not exactly the same, not single-threaded, but in gaming and productivity, build it cheaper. You won't be able to tell a difference and be just as happy. So I don't see the point in paying that extra $100 and some premium to get something that you can't even tell real world differences in. It's stupid. And I think people really need to recognize what they're saying, because when you get on the forum and you ask for help, people trust what you're saying. I mean, it don't have to be true. You can get on there and be like, oh man, get GTX 760. You know, they're new, they're out. Get it. You know, get it instead of a 7970. Yeah, it's $100 cheaper, but does it perform to a 7970? No. But a bunch of people can be like, oh yeah, it beats it. And guess what? You're going to buy it, find out that doesn't, and guess what? You're stuck with it, unless you RMA it. And then, some places won't let you RMA it and get your money back. Alright, so after that little rant, back to the AMD versus Intel. Okay, so, like I said, Intel hasn't really made any significant strides here lately. With switching from, you know, Ivy to Haswell. It was stupid, it was. I mean, I wouldn't even recommend getting a Haswell. It's expensive. I mean, even if you want to go Intel, I would recommend getting an Ivy. I mean, it's cheaper, and in my mind, a little bit better. You can overclock it. You know, I mean, you ain't gonna be able to tell a difference. And chips are about $20 to $30 cheaper, and the boards are too. The boards are pretty cheap now for a Z87. So I definitely wouldn't recommend that as well. And I think Intel made a very grave mistake with that. They haven't really had any strict, super competition here lately, so they really don't have to make any strides. But what they've done, though, is they've given AMD time to where when they do release the new chips, the FX chips, which should be Steamroller, if they do release them, I'm waiting on news for it. I've heard that they're going to release them in Q4, maybe Q1, 2014. I hope they come out soon. They might wait till Excavator, because as it stands, AMD still is doing really well with their 8350 in the gaming market. I mean, they still sell a buttload of chips because people, when it comes to it, people want to get the best performance for the cheapest price. That's just the way it is. AMD's got that market down. People can say what they want, but AMD still sells a lot of chips because it's cheaper. And you can't really tell a real world difference. So, like I was saying though, Steamroller. It's coming out, so hopefully sometime too. It may be Excavator. But Steamroller, they have worked on it ever since Piledriver has came out. They are doing what they need to make it to where they have a very competitive chip. And that being said, they have put so much research and development into this that I think that what they release, I think it's going to blow people's minds. People aren't going to expect it, and it's actually going to do really well. They have opened up the pipes, they've rearranged the cache. They've done everything to this architecture to give it. They increased single-threaded performance by 20%, or that's what they're claiming, 20% from Piledriver to Steamroller. And that's 4 times what Intel has done. So I think that's really cool that AMD are putting the money, the time, development into making these FX chips work. So, like I said, they put 20% on single-threaded performance. They've rearranged, the memory controller, the pipes, the cache, the way it sees threads, the way it allocates them, everything to make it faster. And they're claiming a 32% increase over Piledriver. 32%. Now, right now, if it's 32% faster than Piledriver at stock, that's crazy. I don't even think right now that a Haswell chip is 32% faster than an 8350. At 37 or 4770K might be. I don't think it's that big of a difference. I really don't. I think it's more along the lines of 15 to 20, maybe 25, if even that. But the i5 though, 8350, i5, neck and neck. So I think that's really gonna be cool because it's gonna open up to where even if it's not as good as a 4770K, but it raffle stomps an i5, I think, and they put it at the right price point, Intel can kiss it goodbye. They will not sell another i5 chip. It would be stupid for somebody not to buy it. If it's 15% faster or 20% faster than the i5, it costs $20 more, people will be stupid not to buy it because they're going to have new boards, great boards by these vendors. They're cheaper. AMD has always supported more SATA. They'll probably have PCI 3 now, and there would really be no reason for someone not to get into an AMD system, especially if it's AM3 Plus compatible. You just had to flash the BIOS, and guess what? You wouldn't have to buy a new board. You could reuse your board, have a new chip. It's going to save you money. So, I know it's kind of sounding like I'm a fanboy for AMD, but I'm not. I'm just stating out the obvious here. You know, I like to see competition because it's what keeps prices down. It's what gets us the best performance and the best products. So, I think that's really cool. If it's as good as it claims, I think it's going to make the PC market really, really interesting. And then you never know. You know, Haswell might switch to Broadwell or Broadway or whatever they call it, the 14 nanometer in 2014. And it might just absolutely blow everything we've seen out of the water. But I don't think it will. Intel is sitting too comfortable where they are. And I think it's really going to give AMD the chance to catch up and win. And what I mean by this is, for the longest time, a Pentium was the fastest thing around. Intel had the enthusiast market. AMD released the FX60. That's right, the FX. This is way back. I can remember when this thing came out. It's $1,000. But it absolutely blew everything Intel had made out of the water. And that's just the way it goes. Intel will hold the greatest performance for a few years. Then AMD will come through and just blow it out of the water. Then Intel will do it, then AMD will do it. And it's just the way it is. Competition. It's the only way that you make gameful advances in anything is through competition and seeing who can create the best product. Back to what I was saying though. So you had FX. Then Intel came out with like the Core 2 series. It smoked the old FX series, you know. It was the best. AMD releases the Phenom, first 6 core. Guess what? It was the second time that you could get an AMD system that had the same exact performance to Extreme Editions or whatever they have for Intel, and you got almost the same performance for a less price. And then Intel took it back when they came out with the Core i series. They've been in the lead. And slowly but surely, AMD is going to perfect this new FX architecture. And I really think it's going to change the way that we look at them. I think it's going to come up and it's going to be awesome. You know, either it's Steamroller or Excavator. It's going to be really good. So, that being said though, I've kind of pointed out how it goes with AMD versus Intel. Intel, right now, it's the performance king. They've got the highest premium. And honestly, above $200, they've got the best chips. And their boards are really nice. AMD, price to performance, anything 200 and below. Intel is just, it's whatever. AMD's better with the price performance. It's cheaper to get into, backwards compatible. And Intel slowed down with the way they've developed gains, and AMD is making headway. So I think in the next year or two, it's going to be really, really, really exciting to see how things play out in the PC market with chips, CPUs, and GPUs both. So thanks for watching. If you have any comments, please feel free to leave them. Peace out.